The Story of Michael Bisping Part 5. The H-bomb July 11, 2009. The city of Las Vegas was electric. It was the night of UFC 100, the biggest event in the history of the sport. The arena was packed with screaming fans, and millions were watching around the world. For Michael Bisping, this was the moment he had worked for his entire life. He was on the main card of the biggest show in history, fighting a legend. A win over Dan Henderson would not just be a victory. It would be a coronation. It would earn him a shot at the middleweight championship. The build-up to the fight had been intense. Their rivalry on The Ultimate Fighter had made this personal. Bisping had been the loudmouthed, prank-pulling British coach. Henderson was the stoic, all-American hero. The entire audience, it seemed, was against Bisping. When he walked out, the sound of the booing was like a physical force. He smiled, as he always did, soaking in the hate and turning it into fuel. He loved being the villain. The first round began. Bisping's plan was to use his superior boxing, his cardio, and his footwork. He was the faster, more technical fighter. He circled the octagon, firing his fast jab, landing leg kicks, and moving away before Henderson could set his feet. Henderson, on the other hand, had one plan. He was a power puncher, and he was hunting for one single, devastating shot. His famous overhand right, a punch so powerful it was known as the H-bomb. Bisping knew it was coming. His coaches had warned him over and over, "Do not circle to your left. Do not move into his power." Bisping's strategy was working. He was outlanding Henderson, scoring points, and frustrating the American. He was winning the round. But he was also, with a small, fatal consistency, circling to his left. The second round began just like the first. Bisping was light on his feet, his hands moving, his confidence growing. He was faster. He was better. He just had to be perfect. For 3 minutes, he continued to move, jab, and kick, keeping the powerful wrestler at bay. Then, at 3 minutes and 20 seconds into the round, it happened. Bisping faked a jab and circled left. Henderson, who had been waiting for this one mistake all night, finally saw his opening. He stepped in and threw his right hand with all of his strength. It was not just a punch. It was a collision. The punch connected perfectly on the side of Bisping's chin. In that instant, Michael Bisping's body went stiff. He was unconscious before he even began to fall, collapsing backward onto the canvas like a fallen statue. The crowd of over 10,000 people erupted in a sound that was half cheer, half gasp. But Dan Henderson was not finished. Bisping was lying flat on his back, his eyes closed, completely defenseless. The referee was rushing in, but Henderson took 2 steps and launched himself into the air, driving a second, flying forearm smash directly into the face of his unconscious opponent. It was a brutal, violent, and completely unnecessary follow-up. For several long, terrifying minutes, Michael Bisping did not move. The medical team rushed into the cage. The villain was silent. The man who had talked so much was now a symbol of one of the most brutal knockouts in sports history. Henderson won the Knockout of the Night bonus. His image, soaring through the air to finish Bisping, would become one of the most famous and repeated highlights in the UFC. Bisping had no memory of any of it. He would later say that he remembered being in his locker room, warming up for the fight. The next thing he remembered was waking up in the hospital, his manager by his side. He had no idea what happened. He asked, "Did I win?" The look on his manager's face told him everything. He had been completely and totally humiliated on the biggest stage of his life. This kind of loss does more than add a number to a fighter's record. It changes them. It instills a doubt, a gun shyness, that most fighters never recover from. The entire world was now watching to see if Michael Bisping was broken. His career was on the line. The UFC did not give him an easy fight to return. His next opponent, just 4 months later at UFC 105 in his hometown of Manchester, was Dennis Kong. Kong was a dangerous and respected veteran, a jiu-jitsu black belt with good striking. The question was simple: what would happen the next time Bisping got hit? The bell rang for the first round. Bisping looked nervous. He was tentative. And then, the crowd's worst fear came true. Kong threw a powerful right hand that caught Bisping clean, dropping him to the canvas. It was a horrifying echo of the Henderson fight. Kong, a ground specialist, immediately jumped on him, raining down punches and looking for a submission. This was it. This was the moment his career could end. But this time, Bisping was not unconscious. He was hurt, he was in trouble, but he was awake. and from his back a different kind of fighter emerged. He was not the flashy kickboxer. He was the tough kid from Clitheroe. He held on, he defended, he survived the storm. He made it out of the round. When he walked out for the second round, his fear was gone, replaced by anger. He secured a takedown, and this time he was the one on top. He unleashed a furious, non-stop storm of punches and elbows, a vicious ground and pound. He did not stop, did not slow down until the referee was forced to jump in and save Dennis Kong. Bisping stood up, his face bloody, and roared into the crowd. He had faced his demon, been knocked down, and had gotten back up to win. The road back, however, was not a straight line. His very next fight was against another legend, the terrifying Brazilian brawler Anderson Silva. Silva was known as the Axe Murderer, a man who fought with pure, wild aggression. For 3 rounds, Bisping tried to use his technical skill, but he was fighting a force of nature. In the final seconds of the second round, Silva locked in a deep guillotine choke, and Bisping was saved only by the bell. In the final seconds of the third round, Silva landed a huge right hand that dropped Bisping hard to the mat. Bisping was not knocked out, but he was beaten. He lost the fight by unanimous decision. The path was clear. He was no longer the undefeated golden boy. He was a survivor. He had proven he could come back from a devastating loss, but he was still struggling to beat the absolute best in the world. He was stuck in a pattern, winning big fights but losing the ones that mattered most. He was in danger of becoming a gatekeeper, the fighter you had to beat to get a title shot, but who would never get one himself. And his next fight, against a man named Vitor Belfort, would do more than just cost him a victory. It would cost him his sight.